Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being part of our show. Now, the massacre that happened in Tanzania when the dictator Suluhu wanted to cling to power at all cost has really attracted condemnation from all corners of the world. But the question that we're asking on this channel, who is genuinely condemning this? Because we've realized that there is a trend where some leaders, some groups would condemn just because they want to go on record as condemning, yet they are part and parcel of the problem. The question that is begging is, how did Tanzania find themselves with the dictator, Suluhu? And today, the US Senate, I think, are considering a bill to review their relationship with Suluhu as a result of that massacre. But ladies and gentlemen, is America free? Do they have the moral authority of condemning Tanzania and Suluhu? I could be wrong, but on this channel, I want to show you that they are part of the problem together with the other Western nations, because there was a time when the immediate former president of Tanzania, Suluhu's predecessor, John Pombe Magufuli, a very strict man, kind of fell out with the Western countries, and he began criticizing them of massive exploitation of their resources. And this didn't really go, down well with the Western powers.
Ninajua maisha ya Watanzania. Nilichaguliwa na watu maskini. Ni wajibu wangu kuwatoa kwenye umaskini waweze kwenda kwenye maisha mazuri. Ndio maana nilikanseli, nimealikwa mialiko mingi mno ya kwenda Ulaya. Sikupigiwa kura na watu wa Ulaya. Walionipigia kura wako hapa. Ni lazima nikawatembelee, nikaona shida zao. Inawezekana leo nisingejua tatizo la maji la Musoma, si ningekuwa Ulaya. Na nikaweka mpango kwamba kwa yoyote mfanyakazi anayetaka kusafiri nje lazima apate kibali. Ninafanya hivyo ndugu zangu, si kwamba mimi ni mkatili sana. Ninafanya kwa manufaa ya wanamsoma na Watanzania wote. Tukaingia kwenye dhahabu. Dhahabu walikuwa wanasomba makonteina na makonteina. Wanakwambia wanachukua mchanga. Sasa kama ni mchanga, kwa nini unausafirisha kupeleka Ulaya? Kama ni mchanga, si usafirishe hata Kinyerezi ukajenge daraja. Lile lilikuwa shamba la bibi lingine. Dhahabu yetu imesombwa, tumeachiwa mashimo, wananchi wameendelea kuwa maskini. Na maeneo yaliyokuwa na dhahabu nzuri wanafukuzwa, wanachimba wao. Mikataba ilikuwa inasainiwa Ulaya bila hata Watanzania wa hapa kujua. Mimi nilikuwa serikalini miaka 20. Nimebadilisha huu taratibu. Tukasema lazima tukae kwenye meza tuzungumze. Mliyasikia yaliyozungumzwa na baadhi ya Watanzania waliokuwa mapapeti wa hawa watu. Serikali itafungwa, hamwezi tukashindana na wazungu. Tumewabana kisawasawa. Paka wameanza kutoa pesa na gawio, na tukaunda kampuni inayoitwa Twiga. Wameshaachia bilioni 100 na kesho wanaleta tena bilioni 100 za faida zilizopatikana hapa. Hizi fedha ndizo tunazipeleka kwa wananchi wanyonge, kwenye mahospitali, kwenye madawa, kwenye mashule, kwenye barabara. Hivi vilikuwa havipatikani. Lakini msifikiri wanavitoa kwa raha. Adui yao mkubwa namba 1 ni mimi. Kwa sababu ninakwamisha mambo yao. Kwa sababu ninakwamisha mambo yao.
So before we knew it, as fate would have it, Magufuli died. Whether it was a natural death or there was foul play, we don't know. But when he began criticizing the Western nations and the powers, and he was fighting for the unity of Africa, something that we've seen people like Gaddafi fighting for, they ended up dying. Today, Traore has taken a different route and is saying he's not going to entertain the Western powers. Any leader who begins talking about the African unity, somehow it is either corona, it is either disease, they just vanish. So when Magufuli began talking about the unity of Africa, and he began criticizing the Western machinations, that's when he died. Then his deputy, Mama Samia Suluhu, the soft-spoken dictator, was installed. There have been arguments, ladies and gentlemen, street politics. Some say Magufuli was assassinated, and some say some leaders knew about his death. They mention leaders from the inner core of Magufuli. They mention some former leaders, and they say somehow there was a hidden hand of the Western powers. And let me say that it is the Western powers that installed Samia Suluhu because of their personal interest. And so today, when Madam Samia Suluhu begins to commit atrocities on innocent Tanzanians, I don't think that everyone who is criticizing Suluhu is doing that genuinely. Because some of these people are Trojan horses, including our very own president, William Samoei Ruto. They will talk about, oh, we need to run away from the dollar, we need to form our own currency. Yet he doesn't do that. If he was really serious, for example, he would have joined the BRICS. Ile muungano ambayo kuna China, Brazil, South Africa, I don't know, India and all that. But they will speak for the sake of speaking. And so I have a feeling that some of these leaders and bodies are only criticizing when they've realized that the whole world witnessed a very shameful election and people were really killed after the opponent has been blocked. And I'm told that even Magufuli himself, in terms of development, he was good. He wanted the Tanzanian independence and autonomy. But I understand that he was not any better when it comes to respect to human rights, such kind of things. Now today, as the US Senate is saying that they want to consider, their relationship with Tanzania, I want to show you why I don't think they are genuine. A few months ago, they were on Ruto's neck. After the killing of Gen Zs, they decided that they were reviewing their relationship with William Ruto. They even said that they wanted to strip Kenya of its non-NATO ally. When you scrutinize further, you will realize that they are not so much concerned about the people who are being killed, about the human rights violation. They are so much concerned about their businesses, their relationship, especially for Kenya when William Ruto visited China. That was their main concern. Hizi zingine, Ruto sijui anaua watu. They will only issue statements for the whole world to say, we did this, we did that. But there's nothing they can do. Now, if they were serious about reviewing their relationship with Kenya, they would have done so. They were just speaking at that moment, passed that way. There was a time when the United Nations Human Rights Commission was reviewing Kenya's human rights record. That was just immediately after Gen Zs were killed. Kizza Besigye was abducted from this soil. There was another activist from Tanzania who was abducted from our soil. And we thought Kasongo has been caught. Now that US is on its neck and the UN is also reviewing human rights record, they will find him culpable. Nothing happened. So these Western powers will always make a lot of noise, but there is nothing much they will do. In fact, just wait for some few months and you'll realize that Samia Suluhu will attend some meetings together with those Western leaders. that will be a passing cloud and there's nothing they can do. My point here is we do not need to depend on these Western countries to help us. Ladies and gentlemen, the best that they will do is to condemn. There is nothing more that they can do. Even SADC, the Southern African Development Community, are only criticizing because they've realized maji mezidi unga. The AU, the SADC, all these bodies, these are bodies of presidents who are in power by force. They have killed the opposition leaders, they have blocked them, they have rigged elections. So they don't have the moral authority. Even when they are criticizing, they only issue statements because they want it to go on record. But deep down their hearts, I'm sure they are calling Samia Suluhu, they are telling her congratulations, because none of them believes in pure democracy. I remember one day Museveni was asked, if you wake up and the body that manages election declares Kiza Besigye the winner, how would you take that? And he said that would be witchcraft. There's no way it can happen. They know. So there's no way we expect even the SADC, the AU to help us. There's a conglomeration of birds of the same feathers. We do not depend on EU because they are doing businesses. For example, places here like Kenya, Uganda, the US will consider their trade. They will consider how much they get from Africa, from East Africa. And I don't believe that this criticism is serious. Let's wait and see if there is any advancement on the US Senate's proposal that they're considering reviewing their relationships. I don't think there is anything they will do. They said that about Kenya. UN reviewed human rights record. Nothing is happening. So I don't know whether the US is leading all those Western nations in regret as to why they installed Samia Suluhu, or it is just a mere political gimmick so that the Tanzanians can see that America feels them, that the EU feels them. Are they sympathizing with the Tanzanians or empathizing with them? What more can they do? Nothing much. And that's why I'm saying that our solutions to our problems depends on our hands. Let's Africans rise against dictatorship. That is the only way we can be helped. In fact, the best I have seen is the machination about the Arab Springs, where they sent away people like Gaddafi, was it Hosni Mubarak, those founding fathers of the nations. But those nations have not remained the same again. They are worse than they were. In the Kenyan scenario, they forced a handshake between Raila and Kibaki. That is the best they can do. And so Africans must decide on their own that they are going to rise against dictators. And for me, I don't really believe that this condemnation is genuine. Some of them are just condemning. If you ask those individual presidents, for example, the AU, they will tell you, hakuna mtu anaweza shinda president ambaye ako kwa power. And I don't know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, but the dictator Suluhu is a darling of the West. You might disagree with me now, but you will realize, just go and dig deep, how she rose to power immediately after Magufuli became a critic of the West. And I don't know, I could be wrong. Tell me what you think about the same.